Hello, everybody. Oh, bye, Jake.
Welcome back, Jake.
Welcome back, Jake. And welcome
Thank you.
everyone to the Green Racing Podcast, episode 6. We're just flying through these. Today, we are going to do some of our intro stuff, and then we're going to get into the Antholz World Cup, which will be our main focus for that happened last weekend, Biathlon World Cup. First, Raleigh will open us with a quote.
Okay, so all of you listening at home can't see, but I'm wearing my Tottenham Hotspur shirt. Come on, you Spurs! They are my football club, and they play in the Barclays Premier League. They're currently managed by Antonio Conte, who used to manage Chelsea. I'm not mad about that, believe me. But I have a quote from Antonio when he was managing Chelsea, and it goes like this. I'm not going to do the Italian accent. Antonio's Italian, so I'm not gonna disparage it. But he says, "One normal day of Barclays. That's all I ask for. Will never happen." And so he's referring to one normal day in the Barclays Premier League. It's just all he wants is just like the results to go to chalk, nothing weird to happen, no crazy reffing decisions. And I thought this quote was appropriate because the way that the Olympic prep has gone with cross country World Cups getting canceled and different people testing positive and different team selections. And, we just have been waiting for like one normal day of biathlon or cross country World Cup, and it's just not really happening. So that's what we're here to talk about. Not normal days.
I guess we want the drama to come from within biathlon, within skiing,
Exactly.
within the sport instead of external drama.
Yeah. And speaking of drama, there is some Google Translate. I'm not even going to call it gossip. This is just Google Translate news. And this news comes from the Norwegians and their pre-camp. They have had some COVID cases at pre-camp.
For cross country
at pre-camp.
They're in Italy training?
They're currently in Italy training. And Heidi Vang and Anne Kirsty Kalva have tested positive. They're asymptomatic. And they are not going to the games because of this positive test result. Women's coach, Monson, I'm not a good enough Norwegian speaker to pronounce his first name, also tested positive. They put everyone in isolation. They moved rooms, and the team has had to delay their departure for Beijing by 4 days. And Johaug is freaking out, obviously, because she didn't go to the Olympics last time, or she didn't. I don't know. There's an article on Johaug. They're just really afraid that more people are going to test positive. And at this point, if you test positive, you're not going. So that's sort of the big news.
Talk about worst case scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really tough. You hate to see like an athlete like Vang or a top team like the Norwegians put in a spot like this before competitions. And so yeah, it's sort of a bummer way to kick off our weekend analysis, but that's what's going on in the world. Also, that sound was me getting gummy bears, so apologize for the professionalism there.
Raleigh,
I was gonna say
about the world.
You gotta keep that background noise down.
Yeah, throw a gummy bear back, pour one out, chew one for Heidi.
All right. Thanks for the Google.
Raleigh, do we know who's going in their place at all?
I haven't looked at who the alternates are, and I'm not sure. I sort of wonder if they'll fill the spot or how that works, or if they have someone already ready. I don't know. Great question.
Yeah, or she's got a while till the first races. Like, if she can get a couple negative tests, would she be able to fly over somehow? But maybe they're not going because there just aren't flights after that, because it's all IOC charter flights for the most part, from what I understand.
Yeah, totally possible. And like the 4-day delay is just a huge logistical nightmare for them, I'm sure.
They probably had a waxing plan that was like 2 hour.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I bet their techs are going, or is it everybody that's delayed?
I assume the techs, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the techs.
Some of the techs are probably at camp. Some of them are probably not. So I'm not sure.
Well, that brings us to where in the world are the Cedar Sprigs? Raleigh and I
are in room 21 in Arbor.
are in room 21. Kelsey, what room are you in? Oh, Kelsey, we can't hear
See
you.
you on mute.
You're
Kelsey's on mute.
Kelsey is on mute.
Oh, she's back.
I was just saying I'm in room 22 and I can hear both of you dry firing through the wall. So
Oh, that's
beautiful.
right. We
That's
dry
fun.
fire because
Yeah.
we want to get better.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to get better. Jake, where are you at?
I'm in Antholz still.
Okay.
Antholz, Italy. Was I here for the last podcast?
You were not there for the last podcast.
Okay.
I was also not here for the last podcast.
Welcome back, Kelsey.
Thanks, everyone. Happy to be here.
We missed you. And
So
Jake,
anyway, I'm in Antholz, Italy, and we have our pre-camp going on right now, and we leave on Saturday to go to Beijing. There are a lot of teams here. Germany, Canada, Belarus, Russia,
okay.
among others. And
How was your talk with Eric Lesser?
I had a great talk with Eric Lesser. I asked him what he thought of the new Olympic suit for Germany, and if he liked it better than the current suit. And he had choice words for both suits. They were the same choice word, and it wasn't positive. And so I don't know if he likes it better or worse, but he doesn't like it very much.
Okay.
I haven't seen this new suit yet.
Yeah, I saw it for the first time yesterday on Johannes Kuhn was wearing it out there. So it's like all black. Like, think like the suit they have now. They have like the paneling in the back. You know how it's like cut in half, left and right. And then the left panel, like it kind of ends right underneath the butt. So it's all black suit. And on
The
that
butt
back
panel.
left panel, there's like tiger stripes / flames coming
Whoa.
down. And then it says like
What?
Germany with a stripe on the other side. Or GER, not Germany.
You know,
Whoa.
we were watching Antholz German coverage of the Antholz World Cups, and the German TV guys really liked the butt shot. Like after the finish line, and the people, it honestly did not matter whether it was one of the women or one of the men. We got equal butt shots just of that panel, just the two panels.
Yeah.
And it would always be like the person on the ground, just like super tired. And the panel was just, it was weird.
Yeah. The two
And this isn't the international
Color
feed.
block's really
This is
big right
specific
now.
German.
So
This
Yeah.
is specific
They're just-
German feed which had Arndt Pfeiffer as one of the commentators.
Yeah. We couldn't hear what he was saying, but
But we could hear, we can understand.
yeah,
it.
he did a little analysis at the end, and someone was D1ing, and he drew a line, and I was like, that line seems like it's in the right place. So Arch is now my number one pundit.
Yeah, like they did a
If
technique
it's hard, it's got to
analysis.
be in the right place.
Yeah.
They did a technique analysis on German TV, which is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Where in the World Are the Cedar Sprigs, and Susan and Claire are with you, Jake. Yeah.
Susan and Claire are here with me. Yep.
All right, and then we got
And what about
Hallie's-
our other people?
Hallie's with us here.
yes, Hallie's
Arbor.
with you, with us, all of us, and
Rowers are coming off a big training week, skiing and rowing, and they got a rowing simulator that has like little blades that you can move
oh, that's
around.
cool.
That's in the gym now. That's kind of cool that they're working on. And runners are just running about everywhere.
And the skiers just got back from, they've been gone for a while doing nationals, and then they had the Sun Valley Super Tour and are back in Craftsbury until Lake Placid Super Tour, I think next weekend, or this coming week.
This weekend. Yeah.
Best of luck to them.
Mhm.
And we have
Cool.
Caitlin Patterson, who's in Bozeman, according to social media.
Oh,
Also
that's
true,
a great
yes.
point. Yes. According to social media, Caitlin Patterson in Bozeman before going to the Olympics. We're going to talk about the Olympics more on the next podcast episode. But a big congrats to our teammate, Caitlin, for making it. Sweet. Let's jump into some Antholz talk. I think I wanted to start first with the U.S. highlights. It was a big weekend for the U.S. team in many ways. Just to go through them, and then we can discuss kind of what your guys' thoughts are on it. But Paul Schomer getting 9th in the individual, first top 10 result on the World Cup was super cool. Qualified him for his first mass start as well later in the weekend. And then we had Claire getting 4th in the individual. It seems like she has some good results in Antholz, and maybe is coming into form pre-Olympics. But nonetheless, was just cool to get that result and back in the flowers for the team, it seemed like. And then the women's relay got 5th place. I think the highlight for me of that was hearing that Susan had stated like 10 years ago in a team meeting that one of her goals was to have a top 5 women's relay result. And this was it 10 years later. Sort of have that goal.
Can I interrupt on that?
Yeah.
She was told that goal was unrealistic
Oh,
in that meeting. And so this was like, let's go.
yeah.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was sweet.
Yeah.
What stood out to you guys about those performances?
Jake, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go. Yeah, it was a sweet weekend to be a part of. I think everyone was excited. I think one thing about the Antholz World Cup here that's kind of interesting this year is that, it's at altitude. Beijing is at altitude. And from everything you know about the course in China, it's very V2 heavy. It's very gradual, lots of transitions. And especially in the men's individual, specifically the 4K course, uses a lot of trail that the other courses don't use in Antholz. And it's very much like that. It's very like flowy, V2 heavy. There's very few steep climbs. And so I think especially Paul's result, seeing how he's really coming into form right now, and to see that he was able to perform well here on this course in what could be very similar conditions to Beijing, I think should give him a lot of confidence. I think does give him a lot of confidence. Of course, I talked to him a lot, but that was just super exciting to see. And I think everybody on the team collectively on the men's side, before I get into the women's, has had a time this year where they've kind of felt like they've been coming on strong. And so I think collectively, Sean last week in the relay was handed off in first place after his leg. So I think this is and Leaf, this relay had his best skiing of the year so far. So it seems like things are going in a good direction collectively. And Paul, I think, kind of made a statement there with that. Skiing was sweet. I mean, T outskied Amelia Jacqueline and Benny Vager with the same shooting, who are legit names. The women, like, just the team effort in getting that 5th was really solid. And I think the biggest thing about that performance to me was that those women, despite getting closer and closer further as the race went on towards, the lower numbers on the shooting range, signifying they were doing in a better and better position in the race, they kept their cool about them. And that's what happens in some of these big relay races, is crazy stuff happens. And, Sharvatova went off the course and people were in the penalty loop. There were tons of relay rounds being used, and our women just did their normal thing. And it was enough to get them in 5th place. And that's the thing, as we get close to championship races, as we're in the Olympics, I think we'll probably see more of that in the Olympics. It's just crazy stuff happening. And the teams that are able to just be solid are going to be the ones that are able to land some good results. So that was awesome to see. And I hope that all of us can kind of learn a lesson from that and just be able to go into the Olympics and just kind of do our normal thing. Claire was the last one, and I was stoked to see Claire skiing fast again. Ruupholding was tough, I think, to see her coming off of a training camp over Christmas and then kind of skiing not very fast. And for whatever reason, she was able to turn it on in Antholz and hopefully keep it rolling in Beijing.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think that I think Jake's analysis is really good. I think that the women's result really shows the belief among that group in their ability to compete at the highest level. It's huge progress for that program, I would say, over the last 10 years. And I think that, Susan's raising the level to, world championship medal standard on an individual level, certainly brought the team up with her as well. And so, yeah, I mean, like the quote at the beginning of the show here, one normal day. I don't think we're going to get a normal day the whole rest of the time. We were saying, we were watching on TV, so we had sort of the partisan German coverage, but the thing that really stood out to me for all 3 of these performances was how comfortable everyone looked. like Paul was skiing with some of the best guys in the game, looked really comfortable. I was like, oh, that looks like Paul when he was doing the roller ski race in Utah, or like when Claire was skiing and she was, V2ing up a hill where other people were V1ing or was, making good ground through transitional stuff. I was like, it all like matched in my head, and it's, I don't think that anyone made a huge jump. The same thing with like all the other women in the relay. I was like, Joanne was on the IBU Cup last week and I was running next to her being like, go Joanne. And I was like, oh, this looks like Joanne of last week. And so I think that it really shows how fine the margins are, that like, once you get a couple things kind of rolling your way and other people make mistakes, as long as you just, keep checking the boxes and keep doing the things, it's going to happen. And that's how it happens a lot of times, at least in my observations in these Olympic years, is that, it's not always, every once in a while someone has a performance where they really outperform their normal. But a lot of the time you're just trying to avoid, like a catastrophe,
Yeah.
And I think we've seen from championships and Olympics of past years that the people who are getting medals are not typically the people you would expect to be getting medals. So based on how the season had been going thus far.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point.
If Arn Piper were to jump in a race, I would expect him to get a medal just because it's Arn.
So would I.
And he's on great line, that technique, and he's a champion and he puts it together. He's a gamer.
Yeah.
I don't know why I felt the need to bring that up. I love Arn Piper, and you guys saw him on TV.
Kelsey, did you have any more thoughts from the U.S. performances that you wanted to share before we move on?
I think just some similar thoughts from Antholz in general. I think we saw a lot of people making mistakes and like maybe overthinking things more than they had been this season. So I think that, and I apologize, my lungs are not happy after this 15K earlier today. That we're just going to see, I think we're going to see some different names coming up on the result sheet. And I think I'm just thinking back. I was really impressed. Actually, this is what I was going to talk about, and I remember now. I really want to talk about Benny Dole in the mass start. I just thought that was an awesome performance, and it really brings me back. I think it was Pogluka, and I don't remember if it was in a relay or what, but there was another JT Benny like matchup. Remember it was like 2, maybe 3 years ago, and I remember just watching Benny Dole just like tear himself apart trying to like keep up with JT, who was having like an amazing season. It was back when he was on more of a winning streak, and to see him kind of get like his comeback against JT was I think pretty cool, and I think for him probably felt pretty special. So yeah, that was just a cool race to watch, because I think we all root for Benny Dole.
For sure.
Oh,
yeah. And Benny smiling coming across the line, just like he couldn't believe it and was so ecstatic. Just huge smile. It was awesome.
Did you hear what he said to? Oh, sorry, Jake.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
I was gonna say I was watching the Eurovision coverage, and I don't know if you could hear it on the other, but at the finish line, you just hear there's just like snippet of conversation between him and JT Bowe, where he's like, "Thank you for not hunting me."
Really?
And I think JT was like, "I was trying, man. I was trying to catch you." And he thought that JT Bowe was going easy on him, or something like that. He was like, "Thank you." Like he thought JT, but I don't think he gave up at all. So
yeah. Well, that leads us into a couple other international, kind of the international storylines from the weekend that I wanted to bring up. One is Babikov. That I don't know. I know Raleigh was into this storyline. Maybe Jake has some info here, but Babikov, and what's his first name?
Anton Babikov.
Anton Babikov was left off the Olympic team and then just straight up cleaned and won the individual on the World Cup. And he just cleaned and won. Nope, he didn't win. He got second, but he cleaned a second individual in a row today here at Open Euros. But obviously the World Cup victory, and then he had a 10th place in the mass start. Just a fire weekend, possibly fueled by rage.
Yeah, I mean, I started watching the individual, and Babikov like starts in the back and he cleans the first stage, and I'm like watching with Luke, and I'm like, Babikov is gonna win and clean this race, fueled like purely on spite. And it's just like it's crazy to me. Like 40 competition hits in a row in an individual is wild. Like winning the World Cup before the Olympics. So to back up a little bit, the Russians named the team before the Antholz World Cup. And Babikov had some interviews I read in my various Russian Instagram biathlon feed, that he's like, disappointed, blah, blah, blah. And then he just crushes this race. And there's people that are like, we got to take out Ladipov because he didn't train for 2 weeks. And like, we got to put Babikov in. And it's like, can we start him in the relay? Like, what's going on? And he said, like, I felt like I was never really supported by my coaches. And I'm like, I'm a really good shooter. Like I've shown I'm a really good shooter. And I don't know. I was trying to think of like some sort of comparison for this. I almost feel like it's one of those things where it's like, an NFL team like passes on a quarterback and then it like torches them in like the playoffs like the next weekend, but like it doesn't really matter because they also have a good quarterback. I don't really know, but I just think the Babikov storyline is really, really interesting. Because if ever there was a team that this would cause like some public outcry on, and like I'm sure just all kinds of internal wrangling and debate, it is the Russian team.
And I was in the ski test area, and Dale and Babikov, at least I'm pretty sure it's Babikov, skied by together, and I heard Dale look at Babikov and go, "So still no Olympics for you?" and Babikov kind of shook his head, and then they skied away, and I didn't get the rest of the conversation. But I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, Babikov also the owner of one of the more lighthearted moments in which he breaks a pole, misses the pole grab from his coach, and just kind of starts skiing away. And you can tell he's like kind of like upset that he misses the pole. And like meanwhile, the coach is just like hero sprinting, and he kind of like, I think he hears him like running behind him because there's no fans. And he looks back and then grabs the pole and keeps going. But I wish I would have had my clock on my phone running so I could get the uphill 40 in Neo's running time for whichever Russian coach that was, and
or had a heart rate
monitor on.
It probably was like max heart rate.
Yeah, hopefully got like an EKG afterwards.
Okay, can we nerd out a little bit on this?
Absolutely.
So did they bring Povarnitsyn over him? Because they would have Loganov, Ladipov,
yeah,
Kalili, Sirakatov, the young kid. I'm probably saying his name wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're taking Svetkov.
Yep.
And then did they take Povarnitsyn?
No, Babikov's the alternate.
Oh, so they only have 5 spots?
They only have 5.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they only have 5.
Weren't in top 5. They weren't in top 5 Nations Cup last year?
Can we also break down? I thought just everyone only got 4 starts for the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do know the answer to this. So
because
everyone gets forced if you're between nations 1 and 20, for the NOC like Nations Cup, which started from the beginning of last year and went through I think Ruhpolding of this year. And it's your like best 12 races, and there's certain breakdown of how that works. But if you're in the top 20, you get 4 start spots per race. But this year they cut down on the number of people that each nation could bring. So if you're in the top 5, you can bring 6 athletes. If you're in 6 through 10, you can bring 5 athletes. And if you're 11 through 20, then you could only bring 4 athletes. And then there are a certain number of wild cards available for people of nations that aren't in the top 20. And then they can have the ability to qualify independently. And I don't forget how many wild card spots there are. Maybe Raleigh actually knows that, but that's why the top nations actually can bring more people, but they just can't start as many per race. But that way they can, if you're Russia, you could bring a Babikov and just give him a start in the individual, for example.
You found anything researching Raleigh?
I haven't, but
I can look that up if you guys want to.
Yeah,
we'll have to do an update on that later. To
the other big
Okay,
storyline I thought coming
next.
out of these
because I think we need to.
Kelsey, sorry, your Wi-Fi is kind of struggling there. Can't really hear you.
do we need a new?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
so the next storyline.
Oh, sorry. No.
The next storyline I wanted to talk about was Campbell Wright. And Jake, I know you posted something on your Instagram about that. And from mom and dad, they told me that he needed a 15th place in that individual to qualify for the Olympics. But then was it still up to New Zealand to take him? And then he did get exactly 15th. Or do you have the details on that one?
Yeah, I don't know the exact details because was told by someone that he actually needed 2 top 15s,
Okay.
and by someone else that he just needed a top 15.
Okay.
Maybe they had told him that it was officially 2 top 15s, but they had said that he only needed a top 15. I don't know the details exactly what it was going to be.
But
Okay.
he's going now, right?
He's going. So they named. So they always had the option to be able to name him if they wanted to. But even before he got that top 15, I mean, he had a 31st and a 25th, I think, in Ruhpolding.
So for everyone,
it's crazy to think.
Quickly for everyone who doesn't know, this is is he 20 years old?
I think he's 19.
19. This is a really young biathlete kid from New Zealand, who's like the only New Zealand guy on the World Cup. Has had success at like the World Juniors level, but has been on the World Cup this year and maybe some last year. I'm not sure, but has been making the push to qualify for the Olympics based on like New Zealand standards.
Yeah, I think he did compete last year at World Championships, but maybe he did a couple of World Cups after that. Yeah. But other than that, was just focusing on junior things until this year. But yeah, he's had a heck of a second trimester, and yeah, had some great results. And it's crazy to think that New Zealand, having no other biathletes, was not going to take him when he was finishing, top 30s on the World Cup, which is crazy as a 19-year-old. So yeah, so there was kind of a little bit of a push, I think, from a number of athletes to say, this is insane. They need to take him. But yeah, I don't know if they would have taken him no matter what. But him nailing that 15th, that was a big deal.
That's awesome. That's sweet.
And he got to race the mass start. So also kind of an interesting story about him. I guess he lives with Tomas Bormolini's brother, who is his coach. He's the Australia and New Zealand coach in Italy. So this is a big deal that he's essentially going with his brother. His brother is going to go to be Campbell's coach. So it's almost like Bormolini for him. It's like his whole family gets to come to.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. Cool. Riley, you have something?
Oh, yeah. Only 5 Russians go into the Olympics for men in biathlon. So Kalili, Latipov, Loganov, Danil, Starashsoldov, and Shekov. And then Babikov's the alternate.
Huh, that's interesting. They are ranked 4th in the NOC list. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's only the top 3 nations that get to bring 6.
Maybe they just really don't like Babikov and declined one. Just like
they don't like Babikov.
Cool. Before we wrap, my last in Antholz thing that happened was Dorothea Vier won the mass start at home after, by her standards, a pretty tough season, and showed some good skiing on the last loop. And I know surprised me with that speed. And so she has shot, even by her standards, really fast this year. But has kind of been missing 1 or 2 more every race. That's just kind of been holding her back from those very best results. And so I know she's kind of caught some flack for that, but if she can just get that 1 more target to close and just get a little bit more speed, game on for Italians. And then the other Italian related thing was Lisa Vitozzi, who has apparently lost her ability to shoot in individual races, but can bring it for relays, which as someone who's ridden some real roller coastery shooting consistency and inconsistency stretches in their career, I really feel for her. And I actually think that she switched stocks. I'm like 99% sure she had 1 stock in like the individual and then had a different stock the next race. Which when you're switching stocks in the middle of a weekend, that's when you're just really trying anything. So it'll be interesting for her too, if she can turn something around and, bring something not normal for her year for the games.
Awesome. Well, thanks for everyone's thoughts
Sweet.
about
Well,
this
Luke, do you
past
want to wrap us
weekend.
up?
And yeah, tune in for the next one. We're going to do an Olympic preview, an Olympic fantasy draft, actually, as part of the preview. So get excited. And if you guys want to follow along or make your own teams, maybe we'll do some scoring stuff. So we will see you
I
guys
think
soon.
we should also make some bold predictions for the Olympics.
Yeah. Yep.
Bold predictions, hot takes.
Bold prediction series. Yeah.
All right.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
So, guys.